So it looks like the Chicago Bears might be leaving Chicago. The team announced that they had purchased a property in Arlington Heights, which is about an hour away from Chicago, and it is the Arlington Heights International Racecourse. The Bears have several years left on their lease in Chicago Park and Soldier Field, and the two sides were negotiating terms for a new deal when the team submitted a bid for this racetrack site. And look, put this in context. Arlington Heights is an hour away from Chicago proper. It's in the suburbs. It's very, very far away. It's going to be a pain for fans to get to. And the fact that they've already bought this property, it means the writing's on the wall. The Bears are no longer going to be in Chicago. The Bears are going to be the Arlington Heights Bears. They're probably not going to change the name. I'm not saying that, but they're definitely not going to be in Chicago, and that I don't like that. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not a Bears fan, but I hate the fact that the team is now going to be, an hour away, and I don't even know if it's that metro accessible or subway accessible. So it's going to be a pain to get to the stadium. It's going to be more expensive to get to the stadium, and I'm sure with a new stadium, they always love to jack up those prices, so getting to games, spending money at games, all that stuff is going to be more expensive, and it's going to be a vastly different game day experience, especially considering the fact that if you've ever been to Soldier Field, it's a weird-looking stadium. It's a little older, but it is one of the more, I guess, historical sites as far as sports stadiums go. It's been around since the 30s. Granted, the Bears have only been there since the 70s, but when you think of the Chicago Bears, you think of Soldier Field. That's one of the first things you really think of. That's how ingrained Soldier Field is. And if you've ever been to Soldier Field too, it is on the location is like 10 out of 10 as far as stadiums go in cities. It is a 10 out of 10 location right on the waterfront, right in the middle, in the heart of the city. It is right there. It's easy to get to. Fans don't have to spend money on parking. They can get to it via subway or via metro, however they want to. And it's very easy to get to, so it's not that far away. You don't have to spend, all that gas money going out there. A lot of people in the city, by the way, don't have cars. That's also a problem. So what do we think of this? I think it's a terrible move. Because you had the primetime location. You had great fans who keep coming back even after watching your product, which is shit, by the way. And now you're moving it far away, and it kind of reminds me of the Washington football team. The Washington football team, they have a stadium, by the way, that is in Landover, Maryland. For anyone who doesn't know where that is, I lived in D.C. for a while. If you're in D.C. proper and you want to take the metro, which is like the subway, the over to FedEx Field, and depending from where you're from, usually if you're anywhere on a metro line in the city, it's going to take you about at least 40 minutes, minimum 40 minutes, because they're so packed on Sundays, 40 minutes to get to the Landover metro stop. And then on top of that, it's going to take you about another 20 to 30 minutes at least to walk over from the metro stop all the way down to the stadium, which is a wild, wild walk. You're walking right across people's houses, and it's not accessible for people who are in the city that you're supposed to represent. And it's one of my biggest pet peeves, because you know what this does? Because this is also like a whole argument about, rich versus poor, because when you do things like this, when you move the stadium so far away, more into the suburbs, it really cuts out an entire subsection of your fans, because a lot of the lower income fans who are actually probably more local to the city and mean more to the city, they're going to be either priced out, or it's going to be less accessible for them to get to in a timely fashion, so they're going to choose not to go. And when you move out to the suburbs, you're trying to attract usually richer people, more affluent people, and it really cuts out an entire subsection of your fan base. And that's the alienation between the fans and the ownership that I've seen. Fans don't care. Owners don't care about fans. Like, let's be honest about this. Owners really do not care about fans. Owners only care about their bottom line, and the Bears are no exception. The Bears are a team who have some of the most inept ownership in the entire league. The McCaskies, What the McCaskies have done would make old man House turn in his grave. Because what the McCaskies have done is they've allowed ineptitude, they've allowed mediocrity to just fester for so long. And from their perspective, it's, well, the team's making the playoffs. They've made the playoffs 2 of the past 3 years. There's no reason to fire Matt Nagy or change GMs, even though if you watch the product on the field, you would 100% say this team could be significantly better if they had a better head coach and if Matt Nagy was not on the play call. If he was not calling plays, this team would be extremely better. But instead, they're barely making the playoffs because they have an elite defense. They're still in games. And because the offense does just enough sometimes to win 8 games a season, it is the team winds up making the playoffs. And the McCaskies are like, well, we're making money and we're making the playoffs. And they're not football people. So what do they say? They say, oh, well, there's no problem here. We don't need to change anything. And that's the disconnect. And that's what bad ownership is. Bad ownership, there's 2 types of bad owners in the NFL. You have the owners who are, very cut off from what's going on, and they only care about the money, and they don't care about winnings. McCaskies would be a perfect example of this. The other bad types of owners are the ones that are too involved. Take Jerry Jones. Take Shad Khan. The ones who are so involved in day-to-day operations and interfere in everything that they just tank the team. The best owners, look at Art Rooney, look at Steve Bisciotti, look at those types of guys. Those are the types of owners that know how to hire good football people and know when their teams needs a change. They hire good football people. That's why they don't change head coaches. They don't change GMs that often at all. Baltimore's only had 3 head coaches in the past 20 years. 2 of them have had 10-plus year tenures. So look at that. The Steelers have had 3 head coaches, I think, for the past, 50 years? How many head coaches the Bears had in the past 10? There you go. Bad ownership at play. So, again, this stadium move is just a bad move in general. I'm not approving of it at all. And I think it needs to be addressed. It needs to be addressed by fans. Fans, you got to speak out against this. You got to let them know that you won't tolerate this. And the city of Chicago needs to really buckle down on this one. Thanks for watching this video from Real Take Sports Talk. Remember to like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released. Also, remember to check out our live show every single Thursday at 8 p.m. right here on the YouTube channel. And remember, keep it real.